MotorWeek is made possible by Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper, TireRack.com, and Haggerty.
You know, the history of auto racing is one of fast cars, heroic drivers, and challenging racetracks. But the names of towns such as Le Mans, France, have also become synonymous with the world's fastest sport. But one of those famous names belongs to a small town in upstate New York. A mandatory stop for Craig Singhaus out on the high road.
My earliest recollection of racing in Watkins Glen was about the second race in 1949. I was a sophomore in high school, and we heard about all the exciting races in Watkins Glen and all the big-name drivers of the era coming here, so I talked the boss into letting me come up on the weekends and watching the race from the top of the Tasty Freeze roof.
For racing buff Don Nardi, the golden years of the Watkins Glen street races are more than just pleasant memories. He is creating a museum to highlight those 5 glorious years from 1948 to 1952, when the very streets of Watkins Glen, New York, thundered with the roar of racing cars.
Back then on the old track where the start-finish line started down in town, by the courthouse, and you went down just past the entrance to the Glen, and you turned right and you went up a steep, long hill. And I guess this maybe is where the Allards had the advantage over the other cars with their big Cadillac and Hemi Chrysler engines. And then partway up the hill, there was a railroad underpass. That's where they went under the underpass. And there's a marker on the straightaway up there where Sam Collier, unfortunately, he was killed up here at the race. I believe it was in 1950. Then there's a stone bridge around where they turn north and come down, and they cross the railroad tracks again. And back in those days, they actually held the trains up. They stopped the trains for the race. And then coming down the straight, when they hit the railroad tracks coming down the hill, they would actually become airborne.
As I rode with Don Nardi, I gained a new appreciation for the likes of Briggs Cunningham, the Collier brothers, and all those others who challenged this narrow, twisting ribbon of asphalt and dirt. In those old cars, protected only by a simple helmet and one's own skill, racing at the Glen truly was a death-defying act.
When you go over the old track and you realize that these gentlemen were averaging 65 miles an hour, it's hard to believe back then that the cars were attaining those speeds on the old country roads. And so when they were coming down through town the straightaway, it was sort of dangerous in a way, but it was they were making history and something that followed later on.